Right, let's keep going. Right, now let's talk about verbs. And again, it's relatively simple to understand, a little bit more difficult to apply. And let's go through a couple of examples. So again, our friend Locke, and in the first sentence, the verbs, the doing words of the sentence, right? Very important. So now if you've got a clear subject, that clear subject is going to do something in the sentence, right? That's what we learned, right, at school. But you've got a choice. You're either going to write down the doing words as a verb or as a noun. Okay, so when you write a verb or a doing word as a noun, it's called nominalization. And we'll go through a couple of examples of that. So look at the second sentence. The activity of the sentence, so the repeating activity, is actually written as a noun. It's written as repetition. Okay, repetition is a noun. Okay, but in the first sentence, repeated is the past tense verb of repeat. Again, distrust is the absence of the verb trust. Okay, naming is less of a verb than name. Okay, and again, it's just about simplifying your subjects, which was the first tip, and then making sure that your activity or doing words are actually verbs in your sentences. Okay, and Tokozo says, do you recommend using the plagiarism tools that are available on the internet, or should we try and rephrase? Okay, definitely. So you can get a login to plagiarism tools, absolutely. And I did that when I submitted my thesis. And you'll always get a level of unintended plagiarism, just simply because it's impossible to write completely originally. And the university will be looking for anything, it should be less than 4% of your writing, for example. And to cause, I'll tell you a quick story. When I submitted my thesis into Turnitin, before I actually submitted it to my supervisors, it gave me a whole report on my writing. And it said, there's a source that you seem to be potentially plagiarizing because your writing style is too similar to the source. And I thought, wow, that's interesting, because I'd obviously been quite careful not to plagiarize. So it gives you a whole report. And I went down to the sources that it said I was too similar to, and it was my own website. So I blog on my website, peteralkema.com, and that's my writing as well. Okay, so the tool had picked up from the internet. I had not mentioned my website in my study. It had picked up writing from my own website and said it looks very similar to this thesis, but it wasn't clever enough to know that it was the same author. So I was quite amazed by how clever that piece of software was. So into course, yes, you can get access to those tools, and then there's going to be no surprises, right? Because if you submit that in and you get the results of, let's say, less than 4%, they're going to submit it into the same tool. So you'll know in advance whether you're at risk, and it will show you in your writing where it thinks that you've got risks of plagiarism. So I would strongly recommend doing that. Yeah, and just, I think, for everybody's awareness, thanks, Nick, appreciate that. The practice of taking someone else's work ideas and passing them off as your own, and in a writing context, which is the topic we're discussing today, it's the writing, the sequence of very specific words that somebody else has put in a sentence or a paragraph or a writing project that you then just copy exactly as it is, and intentionally or unintentionally use that in your writing. And what I was saying earlier was you need to critically engage with that writing, change the word order and the words that are used enough such that it is not, plagiarizing the other person's work, but more importantly, is critically engaging with that person's work, because you don't want to be summarizing and just referencing other material without bringing your academic critical thinking into the argument as well. Right. Okay, I think, this is another example, our rainforest again. So if rainforests are stripped, okay, past tense verb to serve, right, verb, short term, etc., the earth bias verb may be damaged. Okay, so in the first sentence, those are clear verbs, right? in the second sentence, the activity of the sentence is actually captured in words that are nouns. So you don't have this sense of the activity. It's again abstracted one level away from you reading the story of this person's writing. And again, for a reader, an examiner, or a supervisor going through your writing, they're spending subconscious effort going through your writing. And if you're continually bombarding them with abstract subjects and nominalized activity through nouns instead of verbs in your sentence, you are draining them, and they're not going to enjoy your writing. What is the difference between professional and formal writing as a student, which writing is suitable? Johannes, so we're talking academic writing. The principles here would apply regardless. I mean, I think any form of writing, you should always try and make your subjects as clear as possible and avoid nominalizing your verbs. As for the difference, maybe somebody else can add something into the chat in terms of your specific question there. But as a student, you're probably more doing formal academic writing. And I'll provide some resources for you to go and read up a little bit more about that after this webinar. Okay, so this is an example, some examples of nominalization. So, and again, this creeps into your writing often without you knowing it, okay? So you might put the word decision into your sentence, and the first time you write that sentence, it's perfectly fine. Or failure, or resistance, or precision, or frequency, or intelligence, okay? But, okay, so now when you see those words pop up in your sentences, like decision, see if you can reword that to decide. And what you will find is, on the right-hand side there, you'll actually not only change that word, but you'll also be able to reduce a number of other words from the rest of your sentence. Because what happens is, when you nominalize a verb, you tend to have to add articles and prepositions. So that's the first bullet point there. So you reduce the number of words in your sentence, which means you write clearer. So the less words a reader has to go through in a sentence, the quicker they're able to understand what that sentence is about, right? And then secondly, the verbs are just more specific and linked to the clear subject or the character that we spoke about previously.